Hello, and let me start with a disclaimer. As always, please note that this is not investment or trading or personal finance advice. Views are subject to change at any point in time without notice. I personally cover about 20 or so stocks. The rest of the team covers about another 20 or 30 stocks. There's no way we can update constantly on the channel our views and thoughts. So views are subject to change at any point in time without notice. Analysts on the team may or may not have a position in any of the stocks discussed. They may also decide to take a position either before content comes or after, or they may decide to exit before or after. So, ideally, one should disclose if you have a position or not, but in the context of the environment I'm in the context of the influence that I have, it will be easier for me. I'm much more circumspect to sit on the fence than to state explicitly what you hold or not. So I may, and I subject the team as well to the same thing. We may or we may not have positions in the stocks that we discuss. Past performance is no guarantee of future performance. So, what is the Dirty December? And I'd like to give some context. Now, the name Dirty December, I don't want to go into who said or what, but my earliest recollection is the popular musician Mr. Easy. I think he once had the Dirty December festival. So that is my earliest recollection of the term Dirty December being used. But over as time goes on, it's become a huge thing, especially across the commercial centers in the country. Your Lagos, your Abuja, your Port Harcourt. So simply put, you can say Dirty December refers to the festive activities that take place in the last quarter of the year, climaxing in the month of December. So while December is when you have the climax, by October, November, the social activities, economic activities, the the socio-economic activities, entertainment activities, you all start to increase in momentum and quantum. So during this period, you have increased consumer spending across the economy. And of course, the focus is where is the money going to? Um, One of these sectors that will have the money is the aviation handling space. You have NAHCO and SAHCO. NAHCO being Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, NAHCO Aviance, and SAHCO Skyway Aviation Handling Company. SAHCO, both firms are listed on the NGX. So the last quarter of the year tends to come with higher travel, both domestic and international flights, especially international flights. You have an influx of people into the country. And that in turn translates to higher revenues for both firms. Now, both companies are the only players in that space. It's that space being in the aviation handling space. They're the two licensed players in that space. So you might as well call them a duopoly, which is what they are. Um, Starting with NAHCO, I would say is the bigger player by revenues and all that. So what we have is you can see Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 2024. Q3 numbers, if this trend continues, Q3 and Q4 tend to be the strongest quarters for these firms in terms of revenue. And just comparing Q1 and Q1 24, Q1 25, Q2 24, Q2 25, you can see that profit is up by over 100%. And if you maintain that same momentum, and I see no reason why, you can easily kind of work out. I've refused to work out here um, what I think would be the full year 2025 earnings per share. I did that, I believe, in a previous video. So while this supersedes this video, I think that Q3 numbers will give better color on that. So I won't be working out those numbers. At best, on Spotify, maybe I'll do a Q3 episode on Spotify once the Q3 numbers for this one come out. But you can work out the numbers just by looking at these figures. I think at bare minimum, you can see that it shouldn't be overly optimistic to say that you might have 100% increase in earnings per share compared to the FY 2024 figures of 6 naira and 60 kobo. So the question is, at worst case scenario, maybe you may have a 9, 10, 8, somewhere between 8 to 10 naira in final dividend. Now, the stock has run quite a bit, in my view. It's run quite a bit, and that's why I have a hold view or accumulate if Q3 numbers indicate a 10% yield at whatever would be current price at that point. The time a hold is neither buy or sell. It means let's watch and see. Let's look and see. But clearly you can see that I'm just from the first and second quarter numbers. Clearly you can see the huge increase in both top line and bottom line. And I see no reason why that will not continue for the rest of the year. So the stock has run quite a bit. I'm recording this at 6:49 a.m. West African time. It's very likely this video will go up by 3 p.m. West African time. So I'm not too sure what the current numbers will be. So you can work out the math, what the current price would be at that point in time. So these are my thoughts on NAHCO. A pretty decent performance so far. Stock has run a bit, but let's see what Q3 numbers will do. Q3 numbers will be the determining factor. Is the stock, would it be stock overpriced or underpriced to get in? Depending on what those Q3 numbers would be. I think those numbers should be out sometime towards the ending of the month. Now, for SAHCO has run in the last couple of days. I think it's went up by a bit over 10% or so the last couple of days. And you can see clearly SAHCO, smaller player as well. But when you look at it really, SAHCO is just marginally smaller. Best you might say maybe SAHCO is just kind of 50% smaller than NAHCO. Same trajectory. You can see top line growth, bottom line growth. Bottom line growth probably is looking even more decent compared to last year. Now SAHCO tends to have a very tiny payout ratio. I think that this payout ratio is going to increase in terms of a percentage increase. Not just, materially speaking, numerically speaking, the numbers will go higher. But I think that, clearly, if you just work out some rough math, last year, this is what, 60 kobo in dividends per share. That's just about a quarter of 1 quarter's profit. So if you take the same trajectory, you say, look, at best, I see no reason why they can't maybe 3x or 4x that number. Take 1 quarter as earning and pay out as dividend. So price wise, now the biggest issue I have with SAHCO is the stock is highly illiquid, extremely illiquid compared to NAHCO. And I think since I have some time, let me see. Yeah, I do have some time. I don't want this video to exceed 12, 13 minutes. So we can just quickly dip in. We can do a side-by-side comparison of NAHCO and SAHCO trading figures. So you can see why I say SAHCO is illiquid. And that is a risk factor for that stock. So if you guys do RV, which is SAHCO, and let's see if we can do NAHCO. Also the same AV, and that gives me NAHCO. So let's see numbers for SAHCO. You can see, volumes are not bad, but you can just see that the spike in volumes has been in the last 1, 2, 3 trading days, right? Prior to that, we had less than 50,000 shares. In my view, I think if you're doing less than 50,000 shares or less than 100,000 shares, our stock is illiquid, in my view. Now let's go look at NAHCO. NAHCO has been doing what? Even NAHCO numbers fairly large, 1.2, 1.2, 1.1. But clearly, the least trade you see here in the last couple of days is 687,000. So clearly, NAHCO is a more liquid stock as well. Liquidity is key for me in investing. You do not want to get stuck there. So these are my views on NAHCO and SAHCOL. I think SAHCOL is surprised with the dividend. So for my SAHCOL, I have a slightly different view. It's either I hold or accumulate at 18 naira or below. Now, would we see the stock at 18 naira or below? I think it's possible. So a 10-20% decline could lead to that. Now, whether that will happen now or before the year ends is what we don't know. But just doing, I think we seem to be having a repetition of the whole Okomo and Presco situation. So people look at it and say, look, NAHCO is trading at 120. SAHCO numerically is cheaper at 99 naira. Even though SAHCO is almost equalizing, 99 naira is essentially 100 naira a share. So you may see some people decide if there's a pullback, faster pullback in this stock compared to NAHCO, some people may decide. It doesn't make sense in my view. But everybody has their own opinions and strategy as well. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. See you in the part two video, which will be about the companies in the brewers space. That should come up sometime this time on Saturday. Thank you and have a lovely rest of the day.